Sabres and Mammoth tonight. What to expect, including in goal, coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome in to this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day, part of the number one sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here on a Wednesday. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast. You can watch the show on YouTube. You can also reach out, get involved, get text updates along the way as well from our text club. That's over at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres. Coming to you on a game day. Sabres after dark, right? 9 o'clock. I mean, every game is after dark at this point, after the clock's changed, except for those couple of matinee games. But tonight, 9 o'clock at Utah. Their first trip to Utah playing the Mammoth. Of course, last year they would have been there to play the Utah Hockey Club. Lot to get to on today's game, what the lineups are going to look like, Utah's struggles as of late, also my bet of the night, which is coming your way. We are still very much in the positive on the season, so we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on as well. Sabres are big underdogs in tonight's game, despite the fact Utah's been struggling, and with all the Sabre injuries, it kind of can make a little bit of sense. So we go to tonight, we look into tonight's game, and it really starts for me with who is expected to be between the pipes. We did know already that it was likely that Colten Ellis was going to get one game because Lindy Ruff said so going into this trip. Appears as though he is going to get this game against the Utah Mammoth. And I just want to dive in on the goalie situation a little bit before we get to anything else about this game. Because if Ellis plays tonight, which is only his second game of the year, and he has not played, obviously, in weeks, right? Like that October 22nd game against Detroit was a long time ago now, when he played really well in it. But it's been a minute, and he has not gone to Rochester. He can't, right? And get a conditioning stint. You're not allowed to do that unless you're coming back from injury. He's not coming back from injury. He's coming back from sitting in the press box and on the bench and not being asked to really play. He's the third string goaltender. So when guys are sitting that long, it can be tough, I think, for them to get put into a game when he's only played one hockey game in the last month plus. And I think it would be tough for a guy to build up some rhythm. Eric Comrie is somebody who dealt with this a couple of years ago, although I never thought Eric Comrie was a very good goaltender. I think Colten Ellis might be a very good goaltender, and I would love to find out. So I'm glad he's getting this game tonight. I'm glad Lindy committed to getting him one game on this trip. And as Lindy has said, there was supposed to be one other game. When they were in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, the game they lost late and blew it in overtime, John Tavares, that was supposed to be an Ellis game. And he was tight that morning, and they decided to go with Luukkonen. And Luukkonen gave up the soft goal in the third period, and it ended up going against the Buffalo Sabres in that one. So it should have been two starts. And I guess if that is a little bit of a window into their current plan, is we're basically a two-goalie system between Lyon and Luukkonen, and only every once in a while we're mixing in an Ellis start. Well, it's kind of closer to a two-goalie system than a three, but you are still working him in. You're not having him go 2 months, 3 months, 4 months without ever getting a game in just to hold the asset, which is basically what they are doing right now with Colten Ellis. They are holding the asset. They think he's an NHL goaltender. They might have good reason to believe he's an NHL goaltender. His trajectory points to somebody that could be an NHL goaltender, and I'd be curious to find out. They don't want to give him up, but they also don't want to put him up above Luukkonen or Lyon off of one game. Well, what about if it's 2 games? What about if it's 3 games? 4? Well, let's start with tonight. This is game number 2. This is a strong opponent on the totality of the season. It's not if you only look at the last 2 weeks, but it's a strong opponent on the totality of the season. It's a team that can score a lot of goals, has one of the highest scorers in the league right now in Nick Schmaltz, and you are playing with a lineup that is missing a ton of pieces, including your best player and best defenseman. You're missing tons and tons of forwards, and it's a game that you might go into it expecting the Sabres to give up a lot of shots and to be pinned in their own end and really playing in survival mode. So, if that's the case, a lot of action for the goaltender. I think if Ellis comes through tonight looking good, he gets a lot of action, maybe he steals one for the Sabres, and they get the win, and he allows 2 goals on 37 shots, then I'm going to want to see Colten Ellis again. Maybe not necessarily on this trip, but something further along than the 2-goalie system. Ellis only plays every once in a while, every other week, every third week. Something closer to, no, he is in a rotation. There is a rotation here where it's 1-2-3, or it's 1-2-1-3, or it's 1-1-2-2-3. Like it is more than he gets he gets a quarter of the starts that Lyon and Luukkonen do, but he almost gets half the starts that Lyon and Luukkonen do. Something along those lines. I think if he plays well tonight, he is worthy of being given that opportunity. So that's tough for him, though, right? Because I'm putting a lot for him on one game. I don't know that Lindy Ruff, by the way, is necessarily treating it this same way, but one game, it's a lot to put on him, because if it goes poorly, I think there will be clamoring, not from me, because I'll want to defend him some and not want to lose him, but I bet you if he has a tough going tonight, he gives up 4, 5, 6, whatever, and the Sabres get beat, then there will be some people that go, what are we really doing here? Why are we holding on to him? If you're not going to play him, cut him loose, because playing him once a month is not going to get the best out of him anyway. So you're not going to find out anything, and you're only going to get beat when it happens. So just move on and let somebody else take him. Let the Blues have him back, or maybe somebody else has had injuries at the position and they want to give him an opportunity to be a NHL level goalie in the league. I could see him getting claimed by somebody that isn't St. Louis, but he definitely would get claimed by St. Louis. So a lot to put on one game, because it might be over if he has a really bad one. I wonder what they really think of it. How close would they be to waiving him? Is it really only one bad game away? Is it 2? Is it 4? What's the number? Because there is a number. And on the flip end, it's like every time he plays, it feels like he's really got to play well, or he's not going to get implemented into this goalie rotation that they currently have. I'd love for him to push them into a tough decision. That's my number one outcome right now, is Ellis continues to play strong every time he goes in there. And it really makes it tough on Kevin Adams to have to do something uncomfortable, which is either trade Luukkonen away and admit defeat on that one, or I don't know what the or is. It's like the only other alternative. I guess that's really what I'm rooting for, is Ellis to make Luukkonen exposable for them, that they could dump them and feel like they're okay with the 2 guys that they currently have. So Colten Ellis expected to start tonight, by the way. It'll not feel great for me as a podcast host if later on they have Prex in Utah and Ellis doesn't end up playing, but apply all of this to the next start that he'll make, which is in the next couple of days if it isn't tonight. But it is expected that he will play tonight. Other things about the Sabres lineup, everything else is the same. We've kind of gone through it, but just to go through it really quickly here for tonight at 9 o'clock, you're looking at McLeod, Tuch, and Thompson up top, Usland, Roseanne, and Quinn on the second line, Kozak, Doan, and Greenway on line 3, Krebs, Malenstein, and Dunn on the fourth, Power and Samuelson, top pairing, I should say, Byram and Timmins on the second pair, Bryson and Kesselring expected to be together on the third pair. We don't know who's going to be the backup goaltender, if it matters to you. The power play, I'll get to this in my betting a little bit later on, the betting preview. Bo Byram playing on the number 1 power play unit. I was curious at looking at him for a point in this game, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. The only reason I was going to is because, well, I'm getting a good plus number on the defenseman that's quarterbacking a number one power play unit. You get a secondary assist all the time from those guys in the NHL, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I just don't think Byram is all that good. And I don't want Byram. I don't want to have action on Bo Byram right now. Not at this moment. When we come back, what's going on with Utah as of late? Because it's been a good season for them, but it's not been a good couple of weeks. That when we return here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by DripDrop. When you're hydrated, everything just works better. Your focus, your energy, your mood, even your skin. That's why you got to use DripDrop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps you running at full power, no matter what your day looks like. DripDrop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. If you use DripDrop as part of your daily routine, it's easy. You mix a packet in the morning before the gym or during that midday slump. It tastes amazing. Your go-to flavor, find it. It's, they have all the options for you. It could be your secret weapon for staying sharp and energized through longer days. Right now, DripDrop is offering podcast listeners to this show 20% off your first order. That's dripdrop.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. DripDrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Help keep your body and mind performing at their best with DripDrop. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres and the Mammoth. The Sabres did not see the Mammoth that long ago. They played them, of course, only, 5 games ago now. They saw Utah on November 4th. And that was the game where JJ Peterka came back and the Sabres did not play a tribute video to him, which I don't think is the end of the world, by the way. He had not accomplished that much for this team, very little. And I don't think you have to do it for every single player that used to play for you. So I didn't care. Maybe you did. He did have a lot of fans, and he has been having a pretty good year for Utah so far. And in that game, he did not put up a point. He was a -1 on the night, and he got the hat of the game, which, whatever, eye roll in the locker room from Utah. They only gave it to him because he played his former team. He didn't necessarily play well in the game, and it's not like he got shipped off against his will from Buffalo. He wanted to go. But okay, whatever. Go ahead, Mammoth teammates. That win that the Mammoth had over the Sabres, that, by the way, they stifled them, right? The Sabres got 18 shots on goal in that game, and they played into overtime. But that was kind of a good point because they did not play well in that game. They were doubled up on shots, and Utah was the better team pretty much throughout, but the Sabres managed to get a point. That win by the Mammoth that's their only win since October 26th. It's been more than 2 weeks, and Utah has won only that game. A 4-2 loss to Ottawa, most recently on Sunday, a 6-2 loss in Montreal, a 5-3 loss in Toronto. They have played 4 games in a row against the Atlantic Division. Now, all 4 of those games were on the road. Actually, 5 games in a row against the Atlantic Division because they did host Tampa back on November 2nd. And they lost all of those games except the Buffalo game, including the Tampa game, which they were actually at home. So when you're looking at what has been happening there as of late, they're giving up a lot of goals. Karaj Vejmelka, when he is in there, and Vitek Vanacek, when he has been in there, the production is starting to fade for those goaltenders. And listen, one consequence of I respect what Utah did, and actually I would rather my team go the route that they did, which was, we're going to be willing to give up on a lot of defense here because we want to be fun, we want to be exciting, we want to be skilled, we want to score a lot of goals. That, just by the trade they made with Buffalo this offseason, they traded away a good depth defenseman in Michael Kesselring. They traded away a very good two-way forward in Josh Doan and brought back a very skilled offensive player that is a total disaster in his own end. That's not why he's there for you. So is it that surprising that Utah, in their last 5 losses, which is just not including the Buffalo game where the Sabres actually held them to 2, where they've scored 6, they've allowed 6 against Edmonton. They've allowed 4 against Tampa, 5 against Toronto, 6 against Montreal, and 4 against Ottawa. They're allowing a lot of goals as of late. So, defense, score on them. That's their weakness, at least in these last couple of weeks. 9-7 on the year for Utah. They still have some forwards that can scare you. Clayton Keller is a very good player. Logan Cooley, Dylan Guenther, Nick Schmaltz, I mentioned, Peterka. They have good forwards. Fast, young, skilled. That blue line, though, Mikhail Sergachev and Dmitry Semeshev on that top pairing. Nate Schmidt, John Marino, Ian Cole, Nick DeSimone. Like, these are bottom pair defensemen on good teams. They're second and third pair. And really, 5 of their 6, it's just not a good blue line right now. They are missing Sean Dursey at the moment, who is actually, I think, an underrated defenseman. And UC Valimaki as well. But the guys you're going to see on the ice against the Sabres tonight, they don't really hold up. It's tough, though, because I don't know if the Sabres have the forwards to take advantage. Like, that might be the weakness of your opponent, but is Noah Ostlund really ready to just crush a bad blue line like that? Roseanne and Quinn with him? Is the Kozak, Doan, Greenway line going to produce offense for me against those pairings? Like, I just don't really trust anybody other than the McLeod, Tuch, Thompson line. That line should dominate whatever defense pairing they go up against. So hopefully you get a couple of goals from them, because that would be where the mismatch is. The Sabres top line playing against whatever Utah pairing they throw out there, it probably would be the Sergachev pairing, but Sergachev isn't that great at this point, I don't think, anymore anyway. At least not as good as he used to be. So that's where we're at. Sabres and Mammoth. Sabres are an underdog in this game. We will get into some of the odds. My bet of the night when we come back, looking to get back into our winning ways. That when we return here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. We're going to get to our bet of the night in just a minute, so stay tuned for that. Hockey tonight, tons of league action. College football, how about college basketball? Rolling a little bit. You got the Bulls playing really well last night. And the NBA's back as well. NFL, no better place to get in on all the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you do miss the start of a game, and maybe you want to get in on my bet of the night, but oh crap, it's 9:09 and I didn't get it in. FanDuel's live bets. Everything from who will score next to third period comebacks. The odds might change a little bit, but especially early in a game, they're not going to do all that much. Or maybe you like how a game is going for a certain team, but they haven't scored yet, and you want to get in on them. Well, that's another thing that you could do. Live betting makes it so much more fun. Plus, you can combine all these bets, live bets, into a same-game parlay for a shot at a much bigger payout. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Wrapping things up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, I got my bet of the night coming up. I did not make bets of the night in Florida while I was there. One, because I couldn't bet them, and 2, I didn't really love anything in either of those 2 games, so I accepted the push and stayed at plus 9.4 units on the year, which is the important number, 7 and 5 in our 12 bets that we have given you so far this year. But again, plus 9.4 because a couple of those were anytime goal bets, and those can pay out a lot better. Tonight, I don't have anything crazy for you, but let's go through what we're looking at. The Sabres being an underdog in Utah, plus 164 on the money line. So there's that. Utah minus 200 at FanDuel. The over-under at 6.5, minus 105 on the over, minus 115 on the under. I mentioned earlier, was looking around at some of the prop bets. I did look at Bo Byram for a while, plus 146 to record a point. He is not putting up many points this year, but he is on the number one power play unit in place of Rasmus Dahlin. And those roles can really breed points for players. Now, the problem and the reason I'm not making him the bet of the night is I don't know how many power plays Sabres are going to get tonight. I don't know what kind of whistles we're going to get. If you got a lot of power plays, then I would like the Byram bet. But otherwise, I don't really believe that he's going to do much for you at 5-on-5. I don't think he's a great player. And when he's not playing with Dahlin, I think he can really be a liability. So I'm not going with Byram, but I guess he would be my favorite of those guys that are in here. Ryan McLeod is another possibility, plus 108 to record a point, or to score a goal, plus 360. Top line, centering Tuch and Thompson. Either one of those, he's around the action. He's in an offensive role for this game. And his odds are below Jack Quinn, who's playing with two rookies, and Josh Doan, who's playing in the third line with Jordan Greenway. Now, Doan's playing power play too, but plus 260 for Doan, plus 360 for McLeod. I much like McLeod in that area. So that's some of the individual bets. The bet I like the most tonight, honestly, and I'm going to kind of take Utah out of the equation a little bit, which I know is, they're like, what are you saying? They're in the game. It's how I imagine the Sabres are going to try to play a game like tonight. Knowing the bodies they're missing, and how Lindy's kind of talked about this, without Dahlin, without all your forwards, what kind of game are you going to try to coach? What kind of game are you going to try to play when you're missing half your lineup? It's a conservative game plan. It's a don't get beat, don't take too many chances, don't get too fancy. Let's play hard hockey, block shots, and let's get a point out of this, take our chances in overtime or the shootout. That's how I think the Sabres are going to play tonight's game. So, despite the fact that Utah has not been able to keep the puck out of the back of their net in recent weeks, I'm going under 6.5 goals for my bet of the night tonight. Minus 115, under 6.5 goals. These teams did just go under this total by a lot, with only 3 goals scored in an overtime game on November 4th. So easily that one would have covered. And I like Ellis. I don't really see a difference right now between him and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I don't have less confidence, I should say, in Ellis than I would in Luukkonen. Sure, it's more unknown, but in the one game he played so far this year, it looked really good. So I'm going to roll with Colten Ellis. I'm going to roll with the type of game the Sabres are going to want to play. And especially if Ellis is playing, they might even feel more inclined to play a conservative, protective style because they have a goaltender behind them that they're not going to want to get beat, and maybe they don't even know how much they could fully trust him. It's kind of like how sometimes you see teams play more, they don't take a lot of chances when they have a backup goalie in. Just when you have an elite starter, how teams will play different with an elite goalie versus a backup goalie. And that's kind of how I'm thinking about how the Sabres will play in front of Ellis tonight. So under minus 115, that's what we're looking for in tonight's game. Boring hockey game. Sorry to say, but I think that's the best case scenario for tonight. By the way, I said this morning on WGR. I'm calling tonight a must win. Not really, of course. If they lose this game tonight, then we'll just talk about what the next game will be. But the reason I say that is the Buffalo Sabres at the moment are 3 points back, not of the playoffs, although they are only 4 points back of the playoffs. They are 3 points back of the next closest team in the East. The Sabres are in dead last with 14 points. Toronto, the next team above them, with 17 points. If you don't want to feel like the season is over already, what you are going to need is the Sabres to not lose points on this road trip. They can't go 0-3. They can't go 0-2-1. They got to find a win somewhere in here just to not make fans feel like it's over. Because if they go 0-2-1 in the next 3 and they come back to Buffalo down 5 points to anybody else in the conference, it's going to feel like the season's over. And I don't think they're going to beat Colorado. Don't think they're going to beat Colorado on Thursday night. So they got to win tonight. Because if they don't win tonight, and I think they'll lose on Thursday, bad vibes going into the weekend. Really bad vibes. Get the win tonight. Relieve some of that pressure to have to win against an elite team like the Avalanche, and go take your chances in Detroit. Must win. Calling it a must win. That'll do it for us today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Night. Every night, all the action around the league. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talk to you after Sabres and Mammoth here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.